Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 206. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. My guest this week is none other than our old friend Ben Liebsch, probably the most frequent guest in the history of Inside Music and the frontman for You, Me, and Everyone We Know. Considering that Ben's on the show, it probably won't surprise you that he has a new EP out. It's called Radical Change, and we are going to discuss it today, along with what's going on in the world and how the coronavirus is changing his life as well as his career. Ben is one of our most beloved guests on the series, and I'm sure you're excited to have him back on the show. But before we get there, I need to tell you a few quick things. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music, like every episode of the show, is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading promotional distribution company. You can join the likes of Bruce Springsteen, Slipknot, Tool, and You, Me, and Everyone We Know by using Holix to promote your music. Visit Holix.com today for details. That's HAULIX.com for details. Sign up today and your first month of service is absolutely free thanks to your friends here at Inside Music. You can also check us out on YouTube. We have a channel called Music Biz. That's Music B-I-Z, and we'd love for you to join us. But right now, I just want you to listen to Ben talk about his music, because You, Me, and Everyone We Know is a group that has changed my life, and I think they will change yours as well. So without further ado, here's the rest of the song, and then my conversation with the one and only Ben Liebsch.
We now have as many cases of COVID in the U.S. as we did during when we first hit a peak. Mm-hmm. So now we've rebounded from our downslide, or we've been doing some backsliding because everybody's like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Mm-hmm. Less people are dying, and so like that's good news. But
yeah. It is a funny thing to be like, listen, more people are starving, but less people are dying from starvation.
People are dying. So it's really just like, it's not a big deal. Like the stress of it will just kill them over the next 30 years rather than in 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So why complain? You know,
why
are you gonna do?
Yeah.
The point of this video that will be out by the time people hear this, you can check out on our YouTube channel. It's called Music Biz, Music B-I-Z. Is that if this music festival in Wisconsin, which could be canceled by the time people are hearing this, moves forward, it's going to set a precedent, because if people turn up for it, other bands and other promoters are going to be like, whatever, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And that's the danger.
Yeah, that's the danger. Yeah. I mean, proving that fuck it is a worthy approach to life, can the hold my beer of society's hold my beer. Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting. It's like living by polls, like how politicians do that, rather than like what is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's troubling.
Yeah.
Something else that I found fascinating recently is this wave of festivals that are announcing, hey, we're not having a festival this year. It's the same weekend in 2021, but let us go ahead and give you the entire lineup right now. Yeah. Like I got a press release when we were sitting here to talk for Outside Lands, and it's like, this is going to take place August 6th through 8th, 2021. Here's the entire lineup. And I was like, how are you going to promote this for the next 13 months?
Yeah.
What's the game plan here?
I think it comes from people's like fear of just like, we're not sure of things, like, the idea that we have to be constantly creating content, or like we need to give people something. It's like, not like, wait till your next, you can be quiet for a while. People aren't going to absolutely forget that your festival exists. It's like Riot Fest being like, all right, this is happening next year at like same time. It's like, people are generally going to assume that if something got canceled this year because of a pandemic, you're going to give it another go next year. Like, trust your audience more than just a little more.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a major change. Like if Riot Fest decided it was going to move to, January or May of next year, then I'd be like, yeah, go ahead and give us that information now. We need that information.
Give us a heads up.
But I don't think we do otherwise. I'm like, it's fine. I can wait. Just make us wait.
Yeah. We assumed it was going to be a retry of this year. Why would you go and there aren't going to be bands that are being able to in new promotional cycles anyway,
Mm-hmm. The only thing that these announcements do for me is that it tells me all the other tours that are going to get canceled or changed. Like the Riot Fest one dropped right before the My Chemical Romance full tour reschedule. So it's just kind of things like that where it's like, oh, the 1975 is playing Outside Lands next August. Well, that means their whole tour is moved to next August.
Yeah. Well, you know how it works. Some folks don't make those connections.
Let me ask you this. We had a show planned for You Mean Everyone We Know on March 15th, which seems like 12 years ago here in June.
Yes.
And it was indefinitely postponed.
Yes.
When do you think you'll feel comfortable in a room with people watching you play music?
When your governor tells me that's fine to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I was in Wisconsin and I told you we could do this next month, how would you feel about that?
Not any governor. Your governor.
Oh, I got it. Specifically Big Gretch.
Yeah, because, not everybody's following the science of things. I don't know how this is a political issue, but it apparently is. But yeah, I would, because I got to fly there. I don't have the professional capacity to take a week off of work and then just drive there. So it's like when flying is chill, like actually chill, not like American Airlines being like, we're going to socially distance. And then there's just like Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube video after YouTube video of being crammed in like we have been before. Like everything's normal. Yeah, so I don't know. That's gonna be a toughie. Depending on the way things go over the next couple months, I could end up just a musician and meditation teacher. If my gym gets shut down again all winter because people want to be silly with with other people's health,
I'm seeing a lot of outdoor yoga events pop up in our area right now. That's the current wave.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff moving outdoors, and that's all fine and well. We don't have the same problems that we just do one-on-one stuff for the most part. So we don't have the same problems that like a classic gym environment will. But because our business classification is an indoor health and wellness facility, like we get kind of like pulled into all that. Yeah, so we'll see. All you can do is just kind of things will be as they will be.
I know that I'm supposed to visit Holics HQ this month that we're now talking in when this episode comes out of July, and later in the month, and the discussion is like, how do I get there? Because we've been talking here at the house, like maybe I should fly out because it's a 45-minute flight, but it'd probably be better to take the 8.5-hour drive.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, I can run into 12 people over the course of 8 hours, or I can run into 2,000 in the course of 45 minutes, or the course of the 4 hours it takes to do the whole song and dance of flying.
Yeah, and I just don't know which one it's going to be, but I think we're leaning towards the the longer one.
Yeah, we'll make an enjoyable trip out of it. Minnesota's beautiful in the summer. This is like summer and winter are the two best times to visually look at Minnesota.
Which is saying something, but it is true. So is Wisconsin right now. It's a nice place. It's where you spend most of the drive.
Wait, is Holics HQ in Wisconsin? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. You spend most of the trip. Yeah. You are correct.
Yes. So it's like 2 hours to Chicago, 30 minutes from Chicago to Wisconsin, and then 6 hours in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Minneapolis is like right on the other side.
it's interesting how that just makes me think about like state lines. They're like, screw it, we're stopping right here. Like we're out of Wisconsin. We hate, because I'm assuming Wisconsin people were like, I hate those people in Wisconsin. We got to make our own place. And as soon as they're outside of the state lines, we're like, is there water? All right, we're done walking. Like,
It always feels really lazy because you get to the middle of the country and then like Wyoming, it's like, we're just a square. Like we'll just take this land. But then on the East Coast, it's all very intricate patterns.
yeah, it's like that John Mulaney bit about drawing the happy birthday sign. Like we did that with our states too. Like originally we were all like, oh, like complicated shapes and yada, yada, yada. And we get to the Dakotas and we're like, square, have a good one. Like, rectangle, have a good one. I don't know what happened with Idaho, but apparently some shit went down.
There probably was a fight over that tip.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, you've done this show more than anybody other than myself at this point, and it has birthed many other things that we do together.
Yes.
Most of them, I was realizing the other day, I was like, I really want to play Answer the Internet again, but it just feels like the last month would have been a bad time to be like, let's be silly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a balance to be struck.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are people that would love to watch us play that game. And for people that don't know, Ben and I have a different podcast where we talk about silly things that the internet wants to know the answer to. But given that the world is on fire a little bit more obviously than it usually is recently, we've kind of taken a back seat on that idea.
Yeah.
But one thing you haven't taken a backseat to that much is music, because you just got a new EP called Radical Change. There's an exclamation point in there.
There it is.
So it's just like when you say Panic at the Disco, it's Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I already know the story, but tell everyone else the story of these two songs. So there are two songs that are available right now, Bandcamp, Spotify, wherever you get your music, digital only currently. The cassettes are sold out, I think.
Yeah.
So what's the deal?
So the deal, basically, with everything with this, I'm not sure what to call it, if it's an uprising or just like, sort of the experience of Black America being laid bare, during this time where everybody's just kind of can't, there aren't distractions to avoid that conversation, and even during a pandemic, like everybody's staying inside, minding their own business, and this shit is still happening. I thought, I use the very humble position I have to kind of, raise money where possible to assist with the various causes that need funding during these national protests and movements. And so, we did a T-shirt to raise some money for Reclaim the Block and a couple other, like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and like Transgender Law Center, things of that, a couple other organizations. But the most effective method I thought would be to essentially put out some music and sort of donate those funds to those various charities as well. Or organizations. These are two songs that will appear eventually in their what I would say their intended form. So these are sort of alternate versions of these two songs that will be released once some form of normalcy returns to existence, I guess. But who really wants to go back? But yeah, so just sort of about the journey, my own sort of awareness and journey through the last year or two of my life. Funnily enough, like one of the songs is strangely topical, and the record begins, but I wrote it months ago, so that was kind of an odd one. But yeah, otherwise there's another song on there called Ram Dass Dick Pics, which is about it's basically a grounding exercise put to music, and then my usual vaguely existential reflections on life.
Something I love about your songwriting is that there's a very clear narrative arc to the whole thing. And I think that for some of the releases, we're taking like one or two steps between full releases. But if we go from when the band left off to Fine, which came out in February, and now these two songs, now it feels like we're playing hopscotch and you're like jumping several feet ahead of yourself with each new release.
Well, yeah, there is. Do you mean that as far as like sort of the story that's been told over the course of the music being?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, there is some of that, like, because there are songs that I guess these two songs are very, very present in them. Like, they're just sort of about like, they're just what were happening in the present moment. It's not like this is a thing that happened and it was kind of like this, it's like this is happening. This is rather than reflecting on something, it just feels a lot more present. Yes, I guess it's detached from a time-based narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, if we go to Fine specifically, we talk a lot about in that song. I say we as if I actually write the songs. I just help promote them.
You do. This is all a lie.
Yeah, I'm your ghostwriter. You're Drake. I'm the ghostwriter. Here piecing together. I do every now and then contribute one line to an idea where I'll be like, you should do this.
Oh, they get in there
in a better way.
Yeah.
But in that song specifically, you do kind of previously on You Mean Everyone We Know is like that's kind of the first verse, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we jump ahead, and then I feel like these next two songs work in that sequence. But I guess my point was, whereas most releases are one solid idea, the next one it's like, and here's where we are 12 to 18 months later. Because of that gap, now it feels like with each new song you write, you're not content with being like, and here's what happened the week after that last song. It's like, here's what happened much longer or much more in terms of your personal development. It seems like it's changing much faster, your views and your way of expressing yourself while still being you, but the things that you want to talk about and how you phrase things seems to be evolving at a much quicker rate.
Yeah, well, in full faith to what had been like the planned release schedule, like these songs were, there was meant to be a song between these. Between Fine and it would have gone, I think plot wise, it would have gone Fine. And then I have this song called Better Than I Ever Was. And then Ram Dass Dick Pics would have been released. And I'm just so glad I can just say that phrase and just put it out in the universe. It's just so absurd. But yeah, so like there is a bit of that, but I do worry a little bit. Well, not worry, but I am aware of the fact that some of what I'm discussing, so like some of the lyrical content, the formatting of it, I am aware that some of the listeners of it are like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because and the record begins is extremely referential. I dig further. Like I talk about Agamemnon like a Greek, a Greek figure who basically the idea that like if you seek vengeance and you kind of become the thing that you're seeking vengeance against. So there's that tension of like, what do you do in that situation? Like the lesson of Agamemnon is like hubris in vengeance to some extent. And then like I name drop this guy Ed Sullivan, who just has the world record for being struck by lightning the most, so like so there's a lot of stuff that like it borderline requires research in a way, which is and sort of like more contemplation rather than like, yeah, this is a simple metaphor, or like this isn't Ben just going like, I feel like this, and this is a very, there's one or more two, there's things are a little, a step or two removed, I guess, than they typically have been, um, which is fine. And if you're paying attention in Ram Dass dick pics, basically like like the first verse is explained by the second half of the second verse. If you're looking for both those, if you're looking at both those things. But yeah, they do. They require a little more thoughtful contemplation now than maybe they did before. But that's because I'm exploring myself at deeper depths than I was able to before.
Yeah, you can't write about being sad and recovering all the time.
Yeah, that's very true.
Just can't. You can't. And it's always like having just you and I, well, we'll just segue into this momentarily. You did the music for this new podcast that we're launching, High Notes, that'll be out in July. It's all about addiction and recovery. And one of the constant themes, and something that I just said last night in an interview I did for the show, was I would argue every artist that we talk to on the other side of recovery is now releasing, if not the things that their fans consider their best work, what they consider their best work. And it's always far more complicated than anything they did previously. Because the first album is always like, I just learned what my emotions are. And now if they're still going, like Bert from the Used, now he's like naming songs Gravity's Rainbow, almost as if to be like, Google that shit.
Oh, that's such a dense, man. Pinch on, man. That's a dense book.
But he's like purposely trying to weave in, like, the last two things that I know the Used have done specifically is like references on references on references. And we're talking about, these deep authors or these ancient poems or these things that have been his obsession in light of having all this time on his hands because he's not doing drugs and alcohol anymore. So it's part of like the part of the recovery effort is like, now we're going to
waking up.
Waking up and going as deep as possible into things. And so then that creates itself in your art.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's in, because part of like the angst that part of the angst that is, we often write, like all this, like this wide genre, in music in general, like you're trying to find your place in the world to some extent, at least from the white existentialist experience, and so once you sort of you're at, like, part of this is the exploring part, like part of your discography and what you write about your own journey is like trying to figure some of that stuff out. But then once you find some answers in that journey, then it's like you are kind of like trying to help light a path, because it's not enough. Like, it is not nearly enough to say I have depression, or I have anxiety, or like we're still in this stage as a genre of like acknowledging our issues. So like we're still in that stage, but we're not working on, we need to start working on the next phase of healing. So that process is part of that. It's like, this is what I like, so with Gravity's Rainbow, or like, Ram Dass dick pics, like, it's like, what is this about? So just Googling that, it's like, okay, this is a book. So like then looking further into that, what's that book about? Like, how does that relate to this song? Like, it's, again, it's like starting to, point the way towards, they've identified with the pain and an audience has identified with the pain or the struggle to find one's place, or like self-acceptance or peace or contentment. Now it's like, okay, this is onto the next phase of healing. This is onto the healing part of this journey, if that makes sense. And so often people get so comfortable under that blanket of saying like, I have depression, or I have this. Like, eventually you got to take that blanket off, and you got to heal. It's like,
absolutely. I mean, that's just the only way to go about it. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that there's a song that didn't come out it's not even recorded, so we can't really say it didn't come out, but there is another song in the works. So what made you decide to do these two tracks instead?
These two, I thought were more easily executable in alternate versions, because we're still under lockdown. So it can't be like, all right, let's jam, like, let's all get together. I'm being responsible about things. So it's like, let's all get together and jam some of these parts out and like figure these bits out. And then let's go hang out in a tiny ass room for 7 or 8 hours while we listen to these pieces over and over again and breathe all over each other. So these songs were executable, and others were not, or that other one or the others I'm working on have not been. Like you can understand these songs in this format, but I thought the other ones that I have in the bank need the punch.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Knowing what's in the bank, being the teller of the bank, if you will, I understand how they need to be delivered. I'm curious though, when do you think people will get to hear? And I guess so. I don't even know the answer to this. So there's a plan to not do anything more new music releasing wise until the band can literally get back together and then maybe crank out better than I ever was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like being able to get everybody in the same room and that being a safe thing. That's really all it comes down to. I'm not a big fan of there are humans that can play all these parts, so like, let's do that. There's something very important about the human element in making this stuff. And so is the human element and the almost literally the contact involved with like a live concert experience. So the idea of like socially distancing during concerts to me is like, it's not feasible for what live music does for people. Like if you're remaining constantly far apart of each other, then you're not losing that sense of self that you do when music is performed and then everybody in the audience's brainwaves line up with that music. You gotta like dig into the deep science of all that. So it's, otherwise, like, yeah. So once we can actually like safely get together and record, I don't see there being much delay. This has not ever been a money making operation. Maybe it covers the expenses, but so that's the least of my concerns. But yeah, at this point, people have heard four of the songs that'll be on the net, like the sort of the full length or compilation of things to one extent or another, and I'm cool with that. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, we put out an EP. We put out an EP 6 months, like over the course of the last 6 months.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
more or less. Yeah, that's good. Well, when do you think we'll see the band? Now, we talked earlier about when you'd feel comfortable performing again, but the big thing these days is live streams, live events. When do you think that might happen, or do you even want to do that?
If I have to do it, I will. But once, like I said, it's like the
magic of the being there.
Yeah, the whole point of being the whole point is being there. Mm-hmm. Live music and a concert is not a celebration of separateness. And that is inherently like what a live stream is. It's mm-hmm. like you can listen to the songs better on recorded versions than me just playing. Like there's no magic there to me. I don't value performing over a live stream. Like it doesn't do anything it doesn't do for me it doesn't give me what I get out of playing live. So it's like, maybe it'll happen. But again, like, I'm in no rush. Like, I'm not, I would rather just play in front of people, or like, I'd rather just play with people. And if I have to wait for that, so be it. Hopefully America gets its stuff together so we can do that in October. Maybe towards the end of October, or at the latest in December. But yeah, we'll see. Again, it's an uncertain future. That's okay. I think a lot of people are learning to, they're being forced to be in the present moment.
Yeah. Not everyone's handling it as well as the others.
Yeah. Well, when you
That's
live your
okay.
life solely in the past or the future, the present is a bitch. Trust me, I'm 9 years sober.
There are good days and then there are bad days and then there are just okay days.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them are okay days.
The more you work at it, they can all be okay days.
Yes, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I've taken up a good chunk of your day. Not really in this conversation, but in general. All good. People can find you online. You're at Yumi Band on Twitter, the world's longest Instagram handle with Yumi and everyone we know band, I believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to go longer.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania on the end of it.
And everywhere else. Now, do you want to touch on what you spend a lot of your time doing? You just finished some teacher training. You got really into mindfulness this year, in the last couple of years, to be fair.
Yeah, so along this sort of radical waking up I've been going through on the tail of this concussion that we've discussed. I've discussed in the last couple bits of, I guess, press I've done to be so bold as to consider myself worthy of such a ego-driven thing. I'm a couple weeks off from finishing some mindfulness meditation teacher training. Just to maybe help others maybe find a better relationship with themselves and their experience of life, on a day-to-day basis. And just trying, pursuing that, bodhisattva ideal, dedicating my life to help others. That's one of the reasons the band has lasted as long as it has, because it hasn't been just completely like narcissistically driven.
Not completely.
There's inherent narcissism in expressing oneself. You're trapped in the illusion of the self, blah 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 blah. But
Too deep.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's ready to touch the bottom of the pool in 20 minutes. But I'm as of mid-July, I'll be a meditation teacher, and if anybody's interested in that, just feel free to reach out via the internet. I'm on that occasionally.
Occasionally. You try not to be. Sometimes they think they're interacting with you and it's actually me.
Spoiler Sometimes, alert. Yeah. They can tell, though.
I think so.
They can tell.
I'm not quite as witty.
I would say you're not quite as weird. I would say that's what it is.
They get a straight answer. It's probably me.
Yeah, your responses make the most sense. And mine are kind of like, they're like, when's the next song coming out? And I'll be like, how long does macaroni and cheese take to bake? Like...
Like, that's not an answer. And you'll be like, it is.
It is.
You're just not ready for it. It is an answer when you're ready to accept it as one.
Or just the classic Pusha T gif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you taking time to talk to me on a public forum rather than just in our text messages all day long in our movie groups. And I don't know, messenger pigeons. I don't know. We stopped short of sending one another actual letters, but it could happen.
I have bad handwriting.
You do. You have terrible handwriting.
Yeah, it's a very anxious handwriting.
Fair enough.
My mind is moving faster than my hand can move. But yeah, man, I appreciate you in general, and I hope that the rest of your afternoon goes swimmingly.
Yeah. Last thing, people might need some plans for the 4th of July if they listen to this when this comes out. So since they can't go outside and participate, or they shouldn't go outside and participate in all of the firework infused chaos, what are your recommendations? Should we spend our 4th of July this year?
Go outside, away from strangers, with people that you're already around with. Just get outside, feel the breeze move against you, and then recognize that some of the molecules that make up that breeze statistically will pass through you. And then you just marinate in that for a little bit.